we do this all last year? These last two items?
Oh, that's what I was going to ask him about. I just didn't have a chance. Because it was.
So I thought it was putting the labels in now. The D is putting just changing the
Yeah,
instances.
yeah,
which
yeah.
would be
Other
sensible,
instances,
but the other one is definition, which we already did.
we did.
For the zoning.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Okay.
I thought we already did the D too, but we might not have. It might have. There might be other instances that need to be, renamed or something.
We're live.
I think
We are
I think
live.
it's our
Maybe Monday?
okay.
To Monday.
Was it Monday?
Oh, damn. It was long. Yeah.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the City of Muskegon Planning Commission meeting for January 17th to 16th, 2025. Let's begin with the roll call, please.
Commissioners Johnson,
Here.
Alron, Willett Leroy,
Here.
Seifert,
Here.
Keener,
Here.
Mazade,
Here.
Montgomery Keast,
Here.
Blake,
Here.
and Simmons.
Here.
So the first item on the agenda is, can you put the agenda up for us, please? Thank you. First item is the approval of the minutes of the meeting in December 12th, 2024.
I would motion to approve the minutes with a slight amendment under the discussion of the rezone. The last sentence before we get into the four criteria, it says not one or a combination, but all criteria must be met. Should add to be a spot zone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Just for clarification.
That was
Yeah.
that those needed to be met
Yeah.
in order for it to be
Yeah.
a spot zone. Yep.
So just for clarity of reading purposes. So.
You have support for that?
Support.
Motion and support to approve the minutes of the meeting of December 12th, 2024. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The next item is public hearings, and the way we will handle these public hearings are the staff will introduce the subject. After that is completed, then the planning commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions. Once that is done, then the petitioner, if there is one, will have an opportunity to address the planning commission, at which time the planning commissioners will have an opportunity to ask them questions. After that occurs, then we'll open the hearing up to the audience for comments, and after that we'll close the public hearing and take action on that item. So with that, let's hear the first case.
It is hearing case 2025-01. It's a request for a special use permit to operate a marijuana processing facility at 1314 East Apple. This property is located in a B2's business zone, but it also is in our marijuana facilities overlay district as a standalone business. It was approved a few years ago for 3 different use types for retail, provisioning center, and recreation grow. However, the industry has changed a lot since then, and I think the applicant would like to explain that a little bit. So now they're looking at a processing facility, which is probably the least intense of all the marijuana uses, or one of them. And these types of uses are allowed in all of our business and industrial zones with a special use permit. We've approved several of them over the years. So this is a special use permit hearing. We did notice everybody within 300 feet. We have not heard anybody from the public make any comments, and staff's supportive of the initiative. It seems to meet all of the other zoning regulations and similar to the uses already allowed at this facility.
Any questions for Mike?
We do also have the standards for the issuance of a special use permit, so I would like to go through an exercise again, similar to what we did at our last meeting. So there's some questions that we can run through again, how they pertain to a special use permit. Well, we could probably do that after discussion.
So we need to answer these questions as a part of the deliberation?
Well, yeah, we should do that in some fashion. I believe last time the city manager read them off. I could read them off this time, and
Okay.
we could have different individuals answer.
Any questions for Mike? So, Mike, do you want to do that now or after we have a motion on the floor?
Yeah, I think we should probably discuss and talk to the applicant because that might help us answer some of the
Okay.
questions.
All right. Is the applicant present? Would you like to come forward and state your name for the record, please, and tell us what you would like to do?
Steve Ori, address is 36 Sherwood Court, City of Muskegon. I don't know if I'm per se the applicant. I'm the building owner. I'm the individual that got previously zoned for the other past uses that Mike was alluding to. The applicant is my friend Tom, the owner of Driven Grows. So I guess I'll just kind of give a little bit of a background. I got zoned at this location for the things that Mike had spoken about. Long story short, the industry changed a lot. The investment team that I was working with, they talked a good talk until it came time to actually having a hardcore contract, and then they changed things and they gave me less at the end. And it's something that you kind of see in the industry quite a bit with the big money people. They unfortunately do what's best for them, and it's not always what's best for people in my situation. I continuously talked to other groups to try to get people interested in coming to Muskegon, but because of all the stores that were here, it was extremely hard. I recruited people from as far east as Vermont, as far west as California, and I couldn't seem to get anything done. So over the past 2 years, the building's basically been unoccupied. I use it for storage. I got my kids' bikes in there, baby clothes, all that kind of stuff. As a result of having 2 kids under 4, at this moment in time, it didn't make a lot of sense for me to take my life savings and drop it back into the building with unknown certainty as to whether or not I'd shutter my doors or be successful. The Apple Avenue project that's going to be occurring this year with the construction down there kind of made me nervous too, to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money and then have the construction basically hamper my ability to make a living, if you will. So Tom and I were introduced to each other about 3 years ago through a mutual friend. He stayed in contact. He was actually in town over the summer. He gave me a call and said, "Hey Steve, drove by your building. It looks really good. What's going on? Are you about to get going?" I told him that I basically redid the whole outside of it to beautify the area because I live here. I care about my investment. And he said, "Hey, if you're not going to use the building, let me know if I could potentially use it." So in October, we linked up, and I decided that I was okay with leasing my building to Tom for him to conduct his business. It was best for my family to where we no longer had the every year $30,000 bill approximately is how much I spent at that location. And more importantly, it was important for me to have a presence at that building. Because I live on the far west side of town, it's about a 20-minute drive to get out there. I'm maybe there 12 times a year. It's usually like, hey, take the baby clothes up there, drop them off. So for me, it's very important to have a business there. And with the added security benefits of his cannabis business, that also excites me to have cameras on the building and more eyes, if you will. I've had a few instances with broken bottles from the liquor store across the street for a number of years, and I'm excited to hopefully have the cameras take that away. But yeah, I'll let Tom come up here and pitch his ideas and what he wants to do. Like Mike alluded to, this is like the least invasive cannabis business that you could possibly do there, and what Tom wants to do there is even more so less intrusive to the neighborhood and the surrounding area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope everyone's doing well today. Do you guys mind if I approach the...
Sure.
This is a book. This is the company that I currently have in the east side of the state, near Vassar, Michigan, next to Frankenmuth. Didn't realize there's so many people. I only printed out 9 of these.
It's okay, we can share.
This is just kind of like an overview of what we'll be kind of going over today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll start with introducing myself. My name's Tom Schneider. I'm one of the owners of Driven Gardens, looking to seek a special use permit for medical and adult use processing. It's very important to get both of them for kind of what I'm trying to do with the location. Right now we are currently a 1,500 plant grow in Vassar, Michigan, which is just outside of Frankenmuth, if you're familiar with Frankenmuth area. In the township that we are in, we're the only grow in the township. We are a medical grow, and we are not able to go to adult use. Therefore, all of our product is needing to be flipped or transferred into the AU market through another processor or another grow that has both licenses. Right now, the Michigan cannabis market is pretty tough, as everybody knows, and then with there being so many laws with cannabis, I mean, we have the caregiver law, we have adult use, and we have medical. It makes everything quite blurry on how everything really works. So for us in the medical industry, for us to kind of survive, we need to be able to take our product and move it from the medical market, which is actually a lot higher testing. So we're tested higher on microbials, and our testing is much stricter. So we have a much higher quality product. So then we take our product, we have to hire another processor, which has both licenses, a med license and an AU license. They then take our product and turn it into AU, so then we can now sell our products to the adult use dispensaries around the United States. Oh, sorry about that. And as you guys know, the sales just came in for 2024, and in 2024 we just hit over $3 billion in sales in cannabis. Out of the $3 billion in sales, only $3 million of that was medical sales. So it is a dying market. So just to keep my company alive, we're just trying to figure out how we can convert our product into the cannabis market, the AU market. Right now, to do that, we're paying double in transport fees. So to get our product from our facility to a dispensary, we pay for a transport from our facility to the processor. The processor then makes our product from med to AU, adult use. Then it needs to get shipped from that processor to the dispensary. So not only is it adding double costs, it's adding a lot of time as well. We would have to then also do that per order. So every time an individual order comes through, we're doing that with every individual order. By getting adult use processing and medical processing at the Apple Avenue, we'd be able to ship all of our product to one location and then ship it to our dispensaries from there. That would cut all of our travel or our transport costs in half, and then just save a lot of time and money, which right now margins are already really tight. So to have to pay double the amount of transport as every other person in the industry is really tough and hard on us. So all this, we're really not actually even looking to process on the facility. We will eventually would like to. You can see at the very end, it does talk about going over into processing and how much a processor charges us to process our material to make it into different items. It's 30 to 40%, which is a huge number. But really what we're just trying to do is survive in this industry and make our medical product AU. So by getting this special use permit, we'd then just be basically using this facility as a packaging department. We'd be basically shipping stuff that we had processed from another previous processor to our location, shipping our product from Driven Gardens to Apple Avenue. Then if a dispensary orders concentrate and flower, we can ship the one order together to that dispo, so they're not getting it from two different locations, and then it's just saves an immense amount of time and energy on it. So this is mostly just a packaging department. Eventually we would like to get into edibles or get into processing, making extracts and stuff like that, but that's down the line. That's as long as we can make everything else survive. And to make everything survive, we need to be able to sell to the adult use market. with the medical market dying. Just for an example, yesterday alone, the processor that I've been using for 3 years, that I've been shipping all of our product to get transferred into the AU market, is moving into their new facility next week, and they're not renewing their medical license because it's $15,000, and they say they make only 1 to 2 sales a month for medical, so it doesn't make sense for them to renew their medical license. So now I'm on the hunt for another processor to be able to sell my product into the AU market, and that's just a coincidence that happened yesterday. So that happening, it puts a huge damper into where or how I can sell my product. The dispensaries that we have relationships right now, I have to now tell them, I'm sorry, I cannot sell to you guys right now because I can't convert it to convert it to recreational for you. So that's just a big part of it. We're just trying to survive in this ever-changing industry. There's always something new, and this is something that I'm sure you guys weren't familiar with. It's something that when I got into this business, I didn't know that this would even happen. I didn't know that there'd be 3 separate laws. We were one of the first to get a medical license before AU is even available. And that's why I'm in Vassar, Michigan. I live in Coopersville, Michigan. I'm from Ludington originally, so this is kind of where I would like to be. But it's the only place that I could get a license. And then for them not to be able to let us convert to adult use puts us in a huge damper. From when we set up our business, we never thought we would be competing with 3 different licenses in the in Michigan. So, but thank you so much for your time. I guess I'll leave you guys up for some questions. I'm sure you have some for me.
Any questions for Mr. Schneider?
I was just going to confirm, so as of now, your intention is only business-to-business sales? You have no intention to sell to the public at this time?
No, not at all. The dispensary would be so far down. That is nothing that we honestly aren't really looking into right now. If we get extremely successful, which we hope we do, we can talk that down in the future, but I don't see that even in really just a packaging place, so then we can convert our product from med to recreational.
Any other question? Yes.
So you would be doing the converting in this particular location?
Correct.
And so you would not have to use another party?
Correct,
and that
exactly.
Would lower the cost for you, et cetera?
Yeah, and I just see it happening with, with the call that I got yesterday with Evo Farms is who I was using as a processor for 3 years. And the relationship we built with them was great, and I'm just nervous that it's going to follow suit. I can't see very many companies, seeing it useful to pay $15,000 to renew their license when they don't sell the product. So soon I probably won't be able to flip my product. So that's why I'm trying to get a facility that it's all, in our own hands where we can flip our product ourselves. Because right now we're relying on a third party, an outside source, and eventually there might not be any.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. So this is the time for the public hearing. Anybody in the audience like to address the planning commission? Do so. So let's go, since there is anybody, let's go to the viewing public. If anybody in the audience would like to address the planning commission on this item, please call 231-724-6721. Is that a phone call?
That's a call.
She might be transferring somebody.
Hello, is somebody there? If somebody's on the line, please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to address the planning commission. Hello?
It might have been misdial internally.
Extension, I think.
Yeah, there's an internal misdial.
Okay.
Okay. We'll wait another minute. Okay. So I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and support to close the public hearing. Any discussion on that motion? All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. So now I'll take a motion on the subject matter. Anybody?
I'll get it. I move that the request for special use permit to operate a marijuana processing facility at 1314 East Apple Avenue be approved with the following condition. Extraction methods classified as hazardous under the Michigan Building Code are prohibited.
Support.
Motion support. Before we take action or take discussion, Mike, do you want to do your thing on the exercise of the
Sure.
section whatever?
So there's 3 questions. I did answer them in my staff recommendation, but I can read them out loud, and you all can feel free to answer. So, the Planning Commission, let's see. Please be prepared to discuss the following questions as they relate to Section 2332.4 of the zoning ordinance, which is noted above. First question is, do you believe this use is consistent with all adjacent uses and structures?
Did you want us to answer that or?
Yeah, I don't know how exactly the best approach of that is.
Or do you want to say,
In
does anyone have
unison,
objections?
yes.
Does anyone have an objection?
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
So why don't we just go through that and you can pause, and if anybody has any objection, then they can state that, and otherwise we'll move on.
Sure.
Great, that's a great way to do it.
Does anybody have an objection to the first?
Go ahead.
Okay. Do you believe the proposed use would be considered offensive or a nuisance because any of the following reasons: increased traffic, noise, vibration, or lights? And finally, do you find that adequate water and sewer infrastructure exists or will be constructed to service the use?
That's kind of hard for us
That's
to
a hard one, but staff
determine.
did the research and they do
Thank
have
you.
adequate, so.
Okay. So we have a motion support to approve the request. Is there any discussion on that motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Blake. Yes. Montgomery Keys,
Yes.
Mazade,
No.
Weiner,
Yes.
Cipher,
Yes.
Willett Roy,
Yes.
Gawron,
Yes.
and Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Move on to the next case.
Yep. So you guys are all set. You just need to apply for the actual permit application with us, so. Nope. So, just call our office Tuesday.
Good luck.
This next case, hearing case 2025-02, a request for a special use permit to expand a non-conforming use no more than 25% at 2984 Lakeshore Drive. The applicant has asked to table this. Since they've
No to vote on
handed
this.
in the application, they've discovered that most likely the house needs to come down and be rebuilt. They were going to keep this as an option, just in case that got shot down at the Zoning Board of Appeals, because that's the route we suggested that they take. They're going to be doing that. But we also met with them just before the meeting, and it appears they had some errors on their site plan. So I believe they're going to need some variances anyway. So they'd like to table this for about 2 months if they need to come back.
So do we need to make a motion to table it then, or are you just taking it off the agenda? And,
I believe we can
are you going to republish a hearing if they?
Yeah, we could do it either way. I mean, we could just strike it from.
Just strike it.
Just strike
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. I just
No public hearing until
Yeah.
we're ready to do a public hearing. Yeah.
okay. And so, Mike, on never mind.
Might have the same question.
Never mind.
Okay.
Mayor.
So you indicated that they're just going to tear it down. Does that mean they're going to build a new house there?
Yes.
That's the plan?
That's the plan.
So that's permissible in a non-conforming property that you can tear down and rebuild?
No, not necessarily, but it happens a lot. Usually when something burns down in a nonconformity, they do go to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So they're getting a variance?
Yes.
Okay.
The variance.
Because I was saying, use by right, we don't allow that.
No.
That's been an issue in the past. So,
Correct.
okay.
Yes.
They're pursuing a ZBA, going to the ZBA to get a variance. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We also discussed some possible ordinance amendments that would take a lot more research, but housing's not allowed in waterfront marine. We did some initial discussions about possibly amending to allow, but the more we look at it, the more problems that could present potentially. So I think we need more time
I agree.
to look
Okay.
at that.
Okay. So moving on.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the next case then.
This is hearing case 2025-03, a request to amend section 2331, subsection 3A of the zoning ordinance to allow the grassy knoll to operate between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2 a.m. I don't believe they're here, but they were aware. So we had an applicant, the Grassy Knoll, request 24-hour service last year, if you recall. That was ultimately denied, although some board members did give them some suggestions to possibly rewrite it and come back in a different fashion. They submitted their application back in November, but there was no language involved, so we had to request that they actually amend the ordinance of how it would look. I did give them some assistance the first time, but it was denied, and then they complained that that's not what they wanted, so we really need them to write it. Eventually they came with something, and we requested that it was not, we noted it was not complete, and the way it's written, it seems to eliminate the hours for everybody else. It just says that they should be open until 2 a.m. And I said, this has been on the table here for a few months. I'll put it on January unless I hear otherwise. So I did not hear otherwise. We made one more attempt to talk to their district manager.
I did.
Who was going to try to talk to them, but
I got one response and then nothing.
yeah. So the way it's written now, it really only it deletes the hours of operation for everybody but them.
Okay. Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, basically what you just said in terms of how it's written doesn't seem to be appropriate as it is. What I'm wondering though, would a better approach be if we were to establish the opportunity for someone to pursue a special use permit to have extended hours? Would that be an appropriate avenue to say if they wanted to extend, a couple hours to 2 a.m. Would the special use permit be the proper
Well,
avenue to do that?
I think that brings up a good point. Is if we want this to be a possibility in some fashion, staff could take it upon themselves to write an ordinance. We have not been instructed to do so yet, but we would have to look at what that would look like. Special use permit could be a possibility. I guess we'd have to, look at those questions. What causes a
What about a variance, Mike?
I don't think a variance would be appropriate because there's no hardship. They're just asking to not follow the rules. So an ordinance amendment would be the way to go. I guess I'd be a little hesitant, without researching it much, to do a special use permit, just because it may pit winners and losers, unless the locations are all unique enough where it might be. But a lot of these are staggered so close to each other.
But the ordinance amendment that they're asking for, we'd have to apply it to everybody. If there's an ordinance amendment.
Yeah, you'd have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't like amendments that call out specific businesses.
No, I definitely discourage them to do that. But I think there was a comment from the planning commission, maybe the city commission at their last time, saying, maybe revise this a little bit and maybe not allow it everywhere, but within certain areas, I think so.
I remember if I may.
Yes.
I remember what I said was that and this was not a recommendation to come back and create a zoning specific to that property, but it was if the request for that property alone, I wouldn't have a problem with it because that property is unique in terms of how it's situated, and it would not be an excessive nuisance or disturbance because of how it is situated relative to the other cannabis operations we have in the city that are surrounded by residential, and this is tucked away, that is forest. And there's a highway and there's forest around it. So there's really not a disturbance from activity there. That's why I was if it were only that property, I wouldn't have a problem necessarily with, extended hours. I don't know about 24/7 that they originally asked, but, extended hours such as this. So I would not personally have a problem with saying they could be open to 2 a.m. at that property. What I do have an issue with is having a zoning amendment that is business specific. That's my concern.
So right now, though, as it sits, we have a request from them, so we need to follow through with the public hearing. And okay, so maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves a bit here. But so Mike, do you have anything else you want to tell us about the subject matter before we?
No, I think we covered it. Just
We're
our
kind of
staff.
moving into the discussion or question,
Sure.
which is fine.
Our recommendation would not be to not pass it, just because it creates so many issues with the rest of the ordinance.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike before we move on? Okay. So, and the applicant's not here.
Correct.
All right. So, we'll open the public hearing. There's nobody here. And we'll extend that opportunity to the viewing audience. And if you'd like to address this issue, please call 231-724-6721. I'm guessing we're not going to get any calls. Okay, then we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support?
Motion and support to close the public hearing. Any discussion on that motion? All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried. Now we'll take action on the subject matter.
I'll take her again.
Jill?
I move that the request to amend section 2331 subsection 3A of the zoning ordinance as presented be denied.
Second.
Motion and support to deny the request. Any discussion on the matter? Roll call, please.
Commissioners Johnson,
Yes to deny. Yes.
Mauron,
Yes.
Willett Leroy,
Yes.
Seifert,
Yes.
Keener,
Yes.
Zade,
Yes.
Montgomery Keast,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
and Simmons.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on to the next hearing.
This is case 2025-04. Staff initiated a request to amend the zoning ordinance to replace all instances of single-family residential districts with neighborhood residential districts. So now that the zoning reform has passed, there's several references in the ordinance which talk about single-family residential districts. Really should be called neighborhood residential now. We didn't include that with the zoning reform just because we thought it was getting a little too much into the weeds.
But what about E? I mean, I don't want to get ahead, but did we already deal with E?
E?
The
definitions.
next side. The next
That's
side.
all. That was ADUs. I was thinking the same thing,
Oh,
but that was
no.
the definition for ADUs. We didn't. Did we?
Yeah, I don't
We only
think
did the definition for ADUs last time, right? We didn't do definitions on duplex and triplexes.
for doing that.
No, last time was just the ADUs.
Okay. All right. All right. So.
Because I had the same question. I was like, wait
All
a
right.
second. Didn't we already
So
define these?
we're on D. Is there anything else you need to tell us, Mike?
No.
Any questions for Mike? Okay, and this is a staff-initiated item, and so we'll open up the hearing to the public. There's nobody in the audience here, but if there's anybody in the viewing audience that would like to address this matter, please call 231-724-6721 and state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the planning commission. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Have motion and support to close the public hearing. Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carried. Now I'll take a motion on action on this item.
I move that the request to amend Article 2 of the zoning ordinance to create definitions for duplexes and triplexes be recommended to the city commission for approval.
One before that, Destiny.
Oh, what? Where am I at?
04. Probably on the screen.
Yeah.
2025-04.
Yep.
We threw you off by talking about E.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's
While on D, we started talking about E.
So what am I
Leave
reading?
it up to
Where-
us.
The bottom portion.
I can get it if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, I move that the request to amend the zoning ordinance to replace all instances of single-family residential districts with neighborhood residential districts be recommended to the city commission for approval.
Second.
Motion and support to approve the request.
Oh, I don't,
Any discussion on the, Anna,
I'm on the wrong page.
on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Blake. Yes. Montgomery Keast,
Yes.
Zade,
Yes.
Keener,
Yes.
Seifert,
Yes.
Willett Leroy,
Yes.
Gowron,
Yes.
and Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Move on to the next item.
Hearing case 2025-05, staff initiated a request to amend Article 2 of the zoning ordinance to create definitions for duplexes and triplexes. Yeah, you're correct. We, at the last meeting, created a definition for accessory dwelling unit, but we figured we should also come up with definitions for duplexes and triplexes. We do currently have a definition for two-family dwelling. We'd like to just switch that to be a duplex, and we added a definition for triplex that you can see as well.
Okay. Any questions for Mike?
I'm just gonna make a comment. You've got the triplexes like very detailed, it's side by side or stacked, blah blah blah, and we don't really have that for duplex because it could be side by side or stacked. So I don't know if you want to add more verbiage or if that's already in there somewhere. Just saying, just to be consistent.
Well, I was thinking triplex is a little wordy because side by side or stacked are really your only options, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, just make them consistent one way or the other. You know, I do like the shared entry, one shared entry or individual entries along the front. I do appreciate that because that could be very different. Like walk through one apartment into the other. So
Well, again, that says either or, so.
yeah,
it's-
yeah.
But then also, like, there's an opportunity for rear entry too. So
There's an option.
particularly,
Yeah.
because don't we for triplexes you have to have rear loaded? So shouldn't we?
You have to have alley access.
Yeah, rear loaded.
You have to have alley access, but you don't
Could be
need to
side.
come in off the back. The way the form-based code is written, it says front or side, so we
Does
just
it?
took it from that.
Okay. Yeah, just to be consistent. That's all I'm saying. But just
Or we could word it any way we want. I mean, I personally don't mind which side of the house they come in, I think.
I mean,
I
do we
don't
even need
either.
to have language on that?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
we might not even
oh,
need to
that's a
have
good
that in there.
point.
because the previous one doesn't say that. So I'm
Yeah.
like, if it were consistent, which I agree with Jill, it'd be nice to have consistency here. So if we were to follow the same format as the pre-existing dwelling two-family, now just renamed duplex, then it would be, I guess it's a medium-sized structure designed for occupancy by three families living independently.
I think that's,
Right.
I
right
considered putting that in there initially, so
there. Did you?
Yeah.
You good with that?
I do that. That's fine.
Okay.
Because then again, we don't need to mention side by side or
Yeah.
stack. 'Cause Those are the only options.
And you're right, and you're just kind of putting yourself in a tight spot if something's a little off or
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
So when we get time for the motion for that, we should clarify that. But now we're going to open the public hearing to the audience. Anybody in the audience would wish to address this issue with the planning commission, please raise your hand and we'll recognize you. Nobody? So we'll open the public hearing up to the viewing audience. If there's anybody that'd like to address this issue, please call 231-724-6721. And you have an opportunity to address this issue with the planning commission. All right, so now I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support to close the public hearing. Any discussion on that motion? All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now I'll take a motion on the subject matter.
Do we need to motion with the new verbiage?
We're gonna
Yeah,
change,
new
yeah, we're
verb.
gonna
I'll just
change
take
it,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
I move the request to amend Article 2 of the zoning ordinance to create definitions for duplexes and triplex be recommended to the City Commission for approval, with duplex being defined as a building designed for occupancy by two families living independently of each other, and the definition for triplex being a medium-sized structure that's designed for occupancy by three families living independently of each other.
Ooh. Beautiful.
The motion, support?
Support.
The motion and support to approve this item with the change as noted. Any discussion on the item?
One,
no.
well, no, something just occurred to me.
What?
Do we define families anywhere? How are families defined? What's a family?
A family, which we are also looking at possibly amending. A family, if I can remember off the top of my head, is a family related by blood or marriage plus two other people unrelated can be defined as a family.
So do we need to define a family in this?
No, not in this. I was just wondering because since it would reference another area of family, are we,
Let's
just
not
given
do
how people cohabitate today, it's not necessarily in the same way of a nuclear family was.
Or
No,
maybe
not
just
even
use the word
close.
intact
They
family.
could be a couple
Yeah.
living
There-
together. They don't fit that
Yeah.
definition.
Yeah.
Intact family is.
Well,
made
family
of
is
many things.
defined in the ordinance, so it would reference that. But as I said, we in the planning department understand that our definition's outdated, and we're currently working at.
Yeah.
So
And-
we're working on changing it.
Yeah, looking at changing the definition for family. But even if it were to continue the same definition for family, being designed for families does not preclude you from having an individual living there. So it's just being designed for,
Yeah.
but
Okay, that's fair.
it doesn't preclude.
Yeah.
I would rather not try to address that in this ordinance.
Oh no, I wasn't trying to. I was just trying to figure out
Leave
where
it
we
for
boxing
later.
ourselves in.
All of us have
Yeah.
dealt with that matter before.
Yeah,
Oh,
you want to give a little
What are
history
the
on
two?
that?
No.
What are they?
So
I
we
can.
have
Hang on, you guys.
family, domestic, one or more persons living together and related by the bonds of blood, marriage, guardianship, foster relation, or adoption, and not more than two additional unrelated persons, with all such individuals being domiciled together as a single domestic housekeeping unit in the dwelling.
Jesus.
And then we have an even longer definition of functional family.
Oh,
Okay.
what?
That's
Okay.
the function of a family? Okay.
Functional family.
Is what family
I think
is
we need one
totally
definition.
Let me make it clear, clean that up.
Yeah,
Simplify things.
It's a.
In those,
Okay.
in those things, those
Yeah, you're
kinds
right,
of
that needs to be
languages in ordinances have been challenged many times. So I think it would be
Yeah.
better just.
Yeah, family's
Yeah.
a
I
good
mean, if you want to
generic
bring it
word.
back in something and
Yeah.
some other time.
Yep. Sorry, I didn't want to bring up a can
Nope.
of worms. But
It was a big one too.
There is history.
yeah. Oh, I know.
So
On
is
Jefferson.
Yeah.
so is there any other discussion on this matter? So roll call, please.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Montgomery Keast,
Yes.
Mazate,
Yes.
Keener,
Yes.
Seifert,
Yes.
Willout Roy,
Yes.
Gallron,
Yes.
and Johnson.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other items to come before us?
No, I just have a couple notes and some things. So,
Updates?
yep.
Okay.
We do have an expungement clinic coming up, sponsored by our social equity program. That'll be on February 15th at the Lake Hawks facility in the Heights on Broadway. I believe it's from 10 to 1, but I have a flyer I can send everyone, so please help us get the word out on that. I did just want to have a brief conversation on family, too, while we're writing this.
Wait a minute.
While we're on the topic, so we've been asked to come up with some different definitions. One is single room occupancy is very big now, and
What was that, Mike?
single room occupancies. So that's an ordinance that we're trying to draft now. We should see that come forward, I believe, next month. And then we've been looking at the definition of family and thinking that's not really how families work anymore. So we've been thinking about ways to amend that. We even contemplated not even having much of a definition for that, so it could be all-encompassing. But the more we think about that, there could present some challenges. Obviously, there's some desire to regulate it somehow because we're being asked to regulate a single room occupancy. And if we didn't have addition of family, then we wouldn't need one because you could have as many people as you wanted living in a house. So we have to find that perfect middle ground where we're being inclusive of all types of families that exist in our community, and not being too overbearing on what we define that, but also finding a way to have single room occupancies find their right zones, so they're not a nuisance to the neighbors. So we're still working on that. So if anybody has any ideas or anything, that we'd be all ears. So let us know over the next month.
Can you repeat the expungement date?
Yeah, I was just gonna share. 'Cause I just
Oh,
pulled
you
it
got.
up.
He's got.
So Saturday, February 15th. It's 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's at 95 West Broadway Avenue, which is the Lake Hawks and Flight Foundation's community center. Walk-ins are accepted to 1 p.m. Pre-registration is encouraged, but otherwise walk-ins are accepted until 1 p.m. And it's going from 11 to 3 p.m.
It's fabulous.
And for city residents, City of Muskegon residents, we're covering the cost for fingerprinting, processing, mailings.
What?
So it's City of Muskegon residents, it's fully covered the costs.
That's fantastic.
Is that on the site?
That information? No.
Okay.
At least it says here some funding available to help cover processing fees. They have some funding that they're going to try to cover as much as they can for non-City of Muskegon residents, but our city residents are covered.
Will that be promoted through our typical channels?
That would be
I don't-
nice.
What was
They're
that? I
promoting.
can't hear.
It's operated by Guns and
it's a
the Lake
third
Hawks and
party.
Flight Foundation.
I'm
So
asking if the city would be promoting the event through the typical channels of like the newsletter and social media as they normally do.
I don't know if we're gonna have time to get in the newsletter, but it'll be on social media for sure.
That's wonderful.
Anything else you need to update us on, Mike?
Still finishing up the recap of last year's cases and our progress on the master plan, but that should be ready in time for next month's meeting.
Okay.
That's all I have.
So do we have any new business or old business?
Nope.
No? Okay. Anything from the planning commission for the good of the order, Mayor?
I got a question from a resident of Jackson Hill yesterday with regard to the old Freddie Thompson Center. That's what it's called, right? Freddie Thompson Center. Because people are living in it now, and they had questions, and a neighbor had said, "Well, the city, rezoned it to allow living in there." And I was like, "We did, but I doubt that they've done the investments for renovations and
Yeah.
upgrades and got certificate of occupancy for anyone to live there." And they said there are people living there, and they're concerned about the conditions and the safety of the facility. So I wanted to raise that to find out, did they make those investments and upgrade and get the certificate of occupancy, or
That was just.
This is
in
not-
August, something like that.
If
Not
not-
that I recall. We'll take a look into that. I know they changed their ideas between how many commercial suites and residential, so they nailed that down. But I don't think they pulled their building permits yet.
Okay.
No.
I mean, based on the status of the building that they were describing, it did not sound like it had been repaired or renovated.
There may have been one suite of residential in there already. We'll have to look at that because it was zoned for single-family residential, so
Okay.
it's
So
a
they might
possibility
fall
that
into
was already approved.
Okay. Just wanted to bring it to your attention.
I'll go here and then.
Mike, you had sent out that notification about the potential of participating in the citizen plan.
Oh yes, yes.
And I said, yeah, I'm really
Yep.
interested.
So we have enough yeses to move forward with them they want at least 20 people in the classes to hold it locally. They said if we get 5 or 6 commitments, that's enough for them to start promoting it on their own. So we're looking at holding it here. And they just shot me some dates, which I believe is the week after spring break for the following 8 weeks. Mondays from 6 to 9 p.m. But that's not been established, so I'll get. And I know you wanted more info, so I'll send that out.
Yeah.
Can you attend on the Zoom? Because if it's every Monday, then that would conflict with
I think they have a Zoom option now.
legislative policy.
Yeah.
They do have a Zoom option, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be offered for the local too.
I'll confirm, but it should be.
Okay.
Yeah, I would highly recommend the zoning board of appeals attend that
Yep.
as well.
Yeah, we have a few that want to
Did
do
they
it.
say
Yep.
okay? Okay, great.
And it's
'Cause
fully
they're-
covered, so
boy,
if
that's
you
a
want to go,
lucky
just
group.
let me know.
Leah?
I was just gonna ask, update-wise, if you've seen anything from the folks over at Nelson, the school, if they're doing anything with that since they last came to you for planning?
I personally have not. Jake
Curious.
talks to a lot of people.
Some things sit idle for a while.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so the question was on the Nelson School. You may recall the Nelson School is one of 6 submissions to MISTA for LIHTC infill housing, low income housing tax credit, multifamily housing. In the self-scoring phase of that process, we should find out how the Muskegon area projects did or whether or not they got tax credits awarded sometime next month, March at the latest. Pleasantly, Nelson School self-scored the second highest project in the state for their category. One complication is that the one project that scored higher than them broke itself into 3 phases and self-scored it 1 point higher for all 3 of those phases. And we anticipate there may be only 2 or 3 projects funded in this round. So if if those scores stay the same and they're not, docked any points and MISTA decides to, they could theoretically award multiple tax credit awards to the same developer for multiple phases of the same large format project. But in the event that doesn't happen, Nelson School was in a strong position from the self-score. So I think it's 52 apartments they programmed for that site.
Did they have any intention of moving forward if they did not receive that funding?
No LIHTC deal will move forward without award of LIHTC funding. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, this is time for public comment. Anybody in the audience like to address the planning commission? Not, we'll go to the viewing audience. If you'd like to address the planning commission, please call 231-724-6721 and state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to address the planning commission. And the last time we did have somebody call in.
So it could happen again?
It could happen.
What's the number?
No, Steve.
On the screen.
All right, Sarah, we're good? All right. If there isn't any other business to come before the planning commission, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Good deal.